When preparing for a job interview, it is essential to know what not to say, as it is to know what to say. One common interview question is, what is your greatest weakness? To answer this question effectively, it is crucial to be honest and self-aware. For instance, a response like, I think my biggest weakness is that I don't always take a step back and look at the situation from a different point of view, is a good start because it shows honesty and self-awareness. However, it is also important to mention what you are doing to overcome this weakness, as this demonstrates that you are actively working on developing your skills and taking advantage of growth opportunities. Another example of a response to this question is, I would have to say my greatest weakness is being a perfectionist. I sometimes catch spending too much time on something because I want all the details to be perfect. This answer is a good start, but it may be perceived as a cliché or a false weakness. To avoid this, it is better to acknowledge this at the start of your response. For example, I know this will come off as a cliché, but I would have to say my greatest weakness is being a perfectionist. Furthermore, it is also important to mention a plan for overcoming your weakness. Some responses are more effective than others. For example, I can often get a little scatterbrained and have a tendency to overthink. I combat these tendencies by staying on task and planning ahead. This way, I know how to handle any obstacles I may face. This response has some strengths, but it would be better to choose one weakness to focus on, especially if the interviewer specifically asks for your greatest weakness. Additionally, the term scatterbrained has a negative connotation, so it is better to discuss a trait with a positive side and a negative side. Another response to this question is, my greatest weakness this year has been a lack of self-care. I am so busy managing a family, teaching full-time, and in grad school, but I have learned to look for signs that I am feeling overwhelmed. When I notice these signs, I make it a priority to practice self-care. I know that once I graduate, I will have more time for myself. This is a good weakness because it shows that the interviewee works hard and throws themselves into their work and schooling. However, this response lacks specific details. The interviewee says that they have learned to look for signs that they are feeling, but does not mention what those signs are. They also state that they make self-care a priority, but they do not say what the self-care entails. The interviewer will want more than generalizations. They will want to know details about how this weakness affects you and what you plan to do about it. A stronger response to this question is, my greatest weakness is that I have a hard time saying no. I consider myself a helpful and reliable person. Many of my coworkers go out of their way to ask me for help because I am experienced and happy to help. This often causes me to fall behind in my own responsibilities. I've started taking a few minutes before answering when a coworker asks me for help. During that time, I evaluate my own responsibilities to determine if I have time and energy to spend on something else. Taking that time forces me to think before I agree to something rather than mindlessly saying yes. This response is strong because the interviewee does a good job of identifying their weakness. Explaining it negatively affects their work, and describing what they are doing to overcome that weakness. Even though this is a growth area, the interviewee is able to showcase their weakness as a strength because they are clearly hardworking, helpful, and want to go the extra mile.